This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express Monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Everyone, welcome to this week's pod. This is the show for the week of October 3rd, 2022. Phil, I don't know the last time we recorded on a Saturday night, if ever. I know we probably have done it once or twice.
I think we did earlier on when we first started. We were doing Saturday, and then we're like, well, this is dumb.
Yes. Phil has got some business plans he needs to take care of, so he's doing some travel. So we're recording this on a Saturday, so you don't go another week. We went like almost two and a half years of recording, not missing anything, and then we had that 1 week, like 3 weeks ago, where we missed a week.
I know.
I don't like it. Anyway, this week we're going to take up our takes, the overrated Walt Disney World modes of transportation that we missed last week when Zach was on. And we're going to go over our DVC engagement on current motivation behind booking Walt Disney World trips. Interesting comments from DBC Discord, only because they're predictable, and I think they completely missed what I was going after. But I think that says a lot, though, with what I was getting at. So we'll dive deep into that, and hopefully I don't annoy people with some of my takes of their responses, but we'll talk about that a little bit. We're also going to talk about our our trip updates that include ADRs and thought process, because that's coming up quick for our trips. So we're going to, if Phil and I really wanted to, we could sit here with like a beer or a cocktail and talk about that for like 3 hours. And oftentimes from our previous trips, we would sit after the show talking about this for an hour as we do things. So we're going to do that on the show for your benefit. But first, Phil, why don't you fill in what's happening in an hour at Disney World and what everybody else is talking about?
Absolutely. So first, obviously, we want to send positive thoughts to everyone that was impacted by Hurricane Ian. Really hit up the western coast and also a lot of flooding in central Florida. So we haven't really done a DVC recommends in a while, but I wanted to throw one out there that I saw Touring Plans in their Saturday 6 put up 6 ways that you can help relief efforts in central Florida. So I forwarded out that note. I'll be retweeting it again. And some of them are, places to donate and stuff. Some of them are just like, if you're visiting the area, tip a little bit extra. And like, I think number one was, they used more colorful language, but it was like, don't be a jerk.
Yes.
Like some of those cast members and other people you're interacting with may have gone through quite a bit. So
how about just don't be a jerk in general?
I know. I think that was like, that should always be the rule, but that was,
but especially, please.
If you come across somebody who's maybe, it seems like maybe is having an off day, there might be a reason for that.
Yes.
One thing good about us recording on today is because it is October 1st, so it is Epcot's birthday. So happy 40th birthday to Epcot. And I will say, if you haven't seen video of the special Spaceship Earth Beacons of Magic show they did for it tonight, I highly recommend catching the video of that. I did already retweet that.
I watched it 20 minutes ago from your retweet, and also I caught some of they implemented more nostalgia in a 4-minute video than a full year of Walt Disney World 50th celebration.
Yeah, they also had a ceremony for the 40th for Epcot where they didn't have one for the 50th. That was nice,
Right. Well, 40 is better than 50, I guess. I don't know.
I guess so. So I did put down here, maybe get your quick thoughts, but I was looking at, sort of what's on the plaque that was commemorated the opening of Epcot. And the last part says that the mission of Epcot is to entertain, inform, and inspire. And above all, may it instill a new sense of belief and pride in man's ability to shape a world that offers hope to people everywhere. So do you think Epcot still does that, or is potentially doing that?
Definitely entertain. Definitely inform. Even if you want to completely get rid of the front part of the park, even World Showcase does a lot to inform and culture and stuff like that. So I'm with that. Inspire. I don't know. Potentially inspire. I don't. Depends on what inspires you, right?
Yeah.
But technology and knowledge. I'm maybe not that much inspiring right now, especially with a giant construction zone in the middle. But I like inspire. Anything at Disney inspires because it makes you feel good about yourself and inspires you to be a better person, hopefully. So maybe that. But a belief and pride in man's ability to shape the world and offers hope to everyone, to people everywhere. I think that's the general good sense of the park. Yeah, and I take that. Everybody doesn't like Cornelius, and apparently it's going away. But it does kind of give you a good sense of culture coming together in one focal point. So I like that, Black. I dig it.
And I thought it was really interesting. I was watching the D23 had a video they put out where, the hosts were talking to different people. It was all about like sort of the history of the park. Had a really good part with Tony Baxter and stuff. One thing I found interesting was a couple times the Imagineers they talked to said, we're not here to educate. That wasn't the goal. It was to sort of inspire and kind of make people interested in something so that they go out and want to learn on their own and stuff like that. So I think sometimes people are like, we still need that edutainment element of Epcot. And their point is it's not really edutainment. It's just, it's like really inspiring people to kind of maybe inspiring their curiosity and things like that. So I think,
I like that.
When we talk about like adding IP and stuff like that, I think you can still do that. You can still use that IP to prompt that curiosity and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
And speaking of Epcot and Epcot IP, it was announced that a Figment movie is in the works, coming from Seth Rogen's Point Grey Productions. So it should be really interesting. I guess it's going to be working with the people who wrote Pikachu, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So if I look at like what these people have done before, I think they might get the tone right, and it might be really interesting. I don't know. I feel like this is going to go two ways. It's either going to be like really clever and amazing and fun, or like a complete disaster.
I don't think it'll be a complete disaster.
Yeah.
But it's going to be obviously live action with an animated Figment. I mean,
I'm assuming it'll be a lot like the Pokemon Detective Pikachu, where they have
like
the
Sonic movie type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like I liked all of them. I mean, it doesn't have to be like this amazing piece of art. It just has to entertain me for an hour and a half.
Exactly.
Right? That's all I'm looking for. And I think the best take was, I mean, I don't think I was the first person on Twitter to say it, but it was the first thing that came to my mind. It's basically, you're going to have a meet and greet, you're going to have a movie, and that's what basically all Disney is doing to basically figure out whether or not to need to reinvest in Figment in the Imagination Pavilion. I mean, that's basically all they're doing, I think. I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely. If the meet and greet proves real popular and this movie does well and that sort of thing, I think that's all the evidence. A lot of times whether it's a survey or something like this, it's probably, they want to do the update. They just need kind of the evidence to justify spending the money on the updating the attraction.
And if you're going to play like the medium to long term game of all of this, I mean, it's pretty savvy. It's smart if you don't mind having a ride that doesn't have any people going to it at all. Like you don't mind that being a thing. Because, I mean, there's definitely a fandom for Figment out there, the hardcore fans, right? But I don't think the public at large knows who Figment is, other than maybe an icon that they saw at Epcot if they happen to go through Epcot, or saw the merch and don't know the attraction, don't know the character. So I think a movie that's either straight to Disney Plus or has a theatrical release, who knows, introduces people to that character, and if it's actually fun, then maybe it spawns a bunch of other stuff. I think it has potential to do so.
Yeah. No, it's a good thought, because when you think about it, something like Maelstrom had its fans and following and stuff like that, but once they did the Frozen overlay, it had way longer lines, because there's like, it's the bigger, more casual fans know what Frozen is, and they're like, oh, let's do the Frozen ride. Otherwise, they were like the Norway ride that I don't know anything about it. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, I mean, like the two good things could happen out of this. So let's assume that there's motivation here to do something with that building in 4 to 8 years from now, like whatever the timeline is. Maybe we get a new Figment ride, and that's great, and everybody's happy, and it takes people away from the other attractions in the park, and it makes something worthwhile for that side of the park for the masses, because Soarin' isn't getting the lines. Nemo and Friends Nemo's not getting the lines that take it away from Frozen and Remy's and Cosmic Rewind, that type of thing. So a really solid C or D level attraction over there will do wonders for that park, I think.
Yeah.
Now, let's say Figment completely flops. Everybody gets angry, and they basically rip out that ride. There's potential for a new attraction over there, because they got to use that space for something sometime in the next 20 years. Then again, the black hole that's in Tomorrowland will Stitch's Great Escape might say otherwise. However, that area of the park needs something, and I think if they could just rip the Band-Aid off and say, okay, we're not going to invest in Figment anymore after this. At least they have a green light to go try to do something.
Yeah, it's easier than to appease the the Figment faithful if they decide to not use Figment. That's a good point too.
Yep.
So if you like Figment, go see the movie.
Yes, there you go. Twice.
Yeah. And since we just recorded like 4 days ago, that'll do it for the news. We also didn't have no update to the DCI or any new Discord members, but just a reminder of our social media accounts where I have been retweeting a lot of the Epcot stuff today. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, all at the DVC Pod and our Discord server.
Yep, make sure you get in Discord. A lot of the news is kind of aggregated there. So if you don't like using Twitter all the time or going to all the different websites, we got feeds and you can just kind of see it all in one place and not worry about the noise and stuff like that. So it's rather easy to digest. Okay, so first topic, or maybe only topic of tonight, depending on how long this goes. We're talking about our trip planning updates. We mentioned this last week that, Phil and I are going to at some point start like really hardcore planning this, and we'll probably do this on the show, and we're going to do a little bit of it right now because our 60-day kind of window is opening up. For me, it's in 8 days, I want to say. For you, it might be a little bit earlier because of your ghost reservation.
Yeah.
And maybe you want to start with there. Why did you get a ghost reservation? What is that? Maybe it's a tip for people out there that don't know what that is.
Yeah. So I guess just for everyone to give a highlight, we're doing a relatively short trip to Walt Disney World for my son's birthday in December. We'll be there. We get to Walt Disney World on Friday, December 9th, and we leave on Tuesday, December 13th. For the first time, we are renting DVC points, and we're staying in a one-bedroom at the Kidani Village at Animal Kingdom Lodge. What we did, though, because we have a short stay and we knew there, especially once my oldest daughter hinted that she really wanted to do Space 220 again, what I did was I booked either a ghost reservation or a shadow reservation, or I don't know what the right term is, but I basically have a second reservation that's for 10 days that ends on our last full day, which is the Monday the 12th. So it starts, I think the 4th of December or something like that. So this way, because for those of you who don't know, if you're staying on property, you can make your dining reservations and other extras like tours and stuff like that starting 60 days out from your check-in date. So now, and the check-in date for up to 10 days. So now, starting on December 4th, I'll be able to book for my entire stay instead of having to wait till like December 8th or 9th. So I have more openings to get the harder reservations. And then come, once my actual reservation I'm in within that 60 days, I'll cancel the other one. So that's kind of the strategy around that.
So in case you guys didn't get that, even before COVID, like you wanted to get like good fast passes or anything else like that, typically it's always the longer trips at the last days of your trip that have more openings because there's less and less people that are into their window at their start, right? So people that book like, coming in from like the UK, they typically stay 2 to 4 weeks when they come over here. They'd always get the best ADRs because they're booking way far out. But the closer you get to your date, of your check-in date, there's more and more people that have already had their 60-day mark and have already booked it up. And because of Disney's cancellation policy where folk can drop in like $200 kind of deposit, or at least the first night at the hotel.
Yeah, you had to pay one night's worth since I did a room only.
And you can cancel that at any time, get all your money back, but his ADR stick because he still has a booking. Because your booking is attached to your My Disney experience, it's not attached to a specific reservation.
Code yeah, exactly.
You get to do that little trick as long as you don't mind plopping down a couple bucks. For about a little bit or so, whatever timeline it is. Okay, so you're going on the 9th to the 13th. It's Friday through Tuesday. I am going through the 7th through the 13th. And that is a Wednesday to Tuesday. So we're leaving on the same day. I'm just getting there, 3 days or technically 3 days before you.
Yeah.
So what do you have lined up? What is your top level the day you get there? What parks are you going to? How are you doing everything?
Yeah. So we actually fly down very late on the 8th. And so we're staying at, just using hotel points to stay at somewhere near the airport. Then we'll be going over early in the morning on that Friday to check into Kidani Village. Obviously, I'm not expecting our room to be ready. We will, drop our bags and then head over to Disney Springs. As I mentioned, this trip is for my son's birthday, and I asked him where he wanted to eat for his birthday, and he asked for Enzo's Hideaway in Disney Springs.
Okay.
We went there for the first time last trip, and the kids absolutely loved it. So that's what he asked for. So that's what we're going to go over and do lunch there and kind of, spend a little, hour or so walking around Disney Springs, doing some shopping. And then we'll come back when our room is ready and do a lot of pool time, just resting at the resort. We're probably thinking we're going to get dinner from Sanaa to go, eat out on the balcony, do that sort of thing, kind of just chill at the resort and enjoy that.
And I will be texting you pictures of Epcot teasing you.
So then Saturday is our first park day. And we wanted to go over some updates to our plan. So originally I just had, single park days. So we were going to do 3 parks. Saturday, we were going to do Magic Kingdom. Sunday, we were going to do Animal Kingdom. Monday, we were going to do Epcot, and then we'd leave. We decided to add park hoppers, although we're having some technical issues getting them added to our tickets. So fortunately, I have a travel agent. Matt was the one who was actually getting the tickets. So he's been the one spending on hold with Disney for a lot. I guess what the issue is because I have the tickets that had the pre-bought Genie Plus, which that is no longer available. So they can't modify them by adding the park hopper to them because you're trying to create a ticket that doesn't exist anymore. So he's going to have to call them back. He's like, I think I'll wait till after the hurricane at this point. So anyway, so the plan is to add hoppers. We decided to do that because when I asked, was asking everybody what you most wanted to do, the first thing my oldest said was go on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, where I was like, oops. And then also we are assuming Fantasmic will be open by then. And that is also a favorite of ours. We haven't seen that in a number of years. So
we had this conversation a month and a half ago. No hoppers, of course, you're going to be sitting there going mad with Genie Plus doing the whole thing.
Absolutely,
which is fine because it's your son's birthday, so you could sacrifice your mental health for 3 days to make your family happy.
Yeah, I definitely was. When I heard your trip, when I heard some other, whether it's Matt's or even Zach, people really leveraging Genie Plus, I was getting a little FOMO.
Yeah, I mean,
not having that.
I mean, looking back, I'm glad I did it because it was a really fun experience. It's just it's the short term. It's just it's tough. When
we figured out, we'll also have now we'll be able to get to Epcot a couple days, so we'll have 2 evenings there because our plan now is we'll start at Magic Kingdom and then hop over to Epcot to see Harmonious, and the plan is that day hopefully to get a dining package for Candlelight Procession. So that'll be the big thing that day. We'll get our dining over there. We'll watch Candlelight Procession, watch Harmonious, and kind of end the day that way because we kind of figure we don't really care about Enchantment.
Right, let me layer my stuff over you before we get to some of the other stuff so we can kind of not do all you, then all me, and then kind of lose context here. So we're driving down because I do not want to pay airfare for 5 at this point. So we're driving down on Tuesday the 6th. And we're going to get there in the middle of the night. I told my wife, I don't want to drive down the day that we supposed to check in. And we got to do it the day before. Hopefully we can get there maybe mid-afternoon if we leave early enough on the... Actually, no, we're taking kids out of school on a Tuesday. So we're going to leave at noon. Hopefully we get there. We're going to get there around 2 o'clock in the morning. We're going to find a cheap hotel nearby and just crash for 6 hours. And then we're going to go and go to the resort, staying at Caribbean Beach Resort. And then we're going to go... either keep the bags in the car or drive straight to the Magic Kingdom. I think we're going to try to keep our bags and give them to the concierge so we can just leave them there. We don't have to worry about getting everything else. And then we're going to Magic Kingdom the first day.
Okay.
So we're not too worried about doing a whole bunch of different stuff. That day on the 7th, where we're at Magic Kingdom, Matt's going to be there. So hopefully meet up with him, take a couple pictures, be kind of cool. And I think we're just going to go there for the morning and afternoon and then head back to the resort for the evening.
Okay.
It hurts me to do this, but I think we're just going to relax after a day of driving the day before. We're going to do something like that. Then on Thursday, when you're flying down, we're going to be at Hollywood Studios all day, but we're going to do a midday break because we're at CBR. We'll be able to easily come back. Go to the pool, do something else like that, and then head back for Fantasmic, which hopefully is going strong at that point. This is our only Hollywood Studios day.
Okay.
Then on Friday, your first full day there, correct?
That's our resort day.
So
we check in and do Disney Springs in the resort that day.
Originally, we had Animal Kingdom down for the whole. It's like an Animal Kingdom day. We changed that to now it's a full-on Epcot day. And we're going to go in the morning and then go in the evening, maybe see the fireworks at that point, do something, right? So it's kind of like a general Epcot day. And then on Saturday, when we're there, that is a full-blown Magic Kingdom day. You're hopping to Epcot now, so you're going to be there. Matt's going to be there, unless he's changed his plans within the last week and a half. So all three of us
probably
are there.
has.
Yeah. So
knowing Matt, he's probably changed it 7 times, but hopefully he's still got Magic Kingdom that day.
I want to make sure the three of us kind of get like a cool picture. The three of us have never met in person, but if we could, the first time we all meet in person would be like in front of the castle. That would be kind of awesome.
That'd be pretty cool. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So we'll make that work. And then on the 11th, which is a Sunday, you're going to be at Animal Kingdom in the morning. I'm going to be in Animal Kingdom in the morning. And then we're going to have to talk about park strategies once we start kind of doing our touring plan as we get a little bit closer. Yeah. But I'll be you're hopping to Hollywood Studios that evening. I'm hopping to Magic Kingdom because I'm still on target to get party tickets for that day.
Okay.
So that's kind of we're hopping to Magic Kingdom for party tickets, and then the last day that we're there is Monday. That is a full blown Epcot day. I know that was originally going to be a full day Epcot day for you. However, you are hopping all over the place in the middle of the day and coming back. And Mr. Fancy Pants, my co-host, has extra evening hours at Epcot. I will be getting kicked out a little bit earlier.
I'll wave goodbye.
That'll be great. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
But I think I attempted, because what we did, I don't know, about 4 or 5 months ago, we set up a spreadsheet in Discord, so everybody gets to put their trips in a spreadsheet and label which days that they're going to what parks. So it allows for all of our members to kind of align park days and which days you're going to go, so you can kind of hop on Discord. Hey, I'm here. Anybody want to meet up and have lunch or have a drink or wave hello and crisscrosses your touring plans you're running towards the next thing. So I think we overlap pretty well with parks, giving us the opportunity to do something fun. Now I'm thinking, Phil, we're going to be with 3 of your park days. I wonder if we can sacrifice 10 to 20 minutes of our day and do a recording from each park and then mash that together as like a podcast for that week.
That'd be fun.
Like 3 segments. It's like we sit down in front of each. Let's see. I don't know. We have Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, and Epcot. We sit in front of the Tree of Life, the castle, and Spaceship Earth. Take some video with our cell phones. See if we can stitch it together. I think that would be kind of neat. That requires a lot of planning, and I don't know if I want to do that much planning on top of a Disney World.
I'm sure even if we could take a short video in each park and maybe mash it with some B-roll.
Do something kind of fun. Yeah. Okay, so those are my plans. I didn't change it much. This has been pretty static for the most part. Okay, so then the next point that we want to talk about is holiday stuff, because obviously we're going to be there a couple weeks before Christmas. I'm doing the Christmas party. Disney World, the website, has a pretty good listing of things that they do during the holidays. They do a lot of great stuff at Epcot. We talked a lot about that last week. We're going to talk about that a lot more and probably in a month or so. Yep. But what other heavy holiday stuff are you planning on doing that's outside of Epcot? What are you looking for?
Yeah, so I mean, Epcot's definitely the big one. That's part of why we want to be there twice. We definitely just want to see, like, I know for Magic Kingdom, probably our top Lightning Lane priority is going to be for the Jingle Cruise. And just kind of walking down Main Street and seeing all the decorations there and stuff like that.
Let me interrupt because something popped in my head. What is the strategy of getting Lightning for Jingle Cruise during the day, or what do the lines look like during the party? See, we're going to know in November how that looks like, but I'm curious to see how that kind of evens out.
I know, like, in the past, like even last year, because I did do the after hours thing, like early on in the party, the line for Jingle Cruise is generally long. Later in the evening, like closer to the end of the party, it gets a lot shorter. The one thing though, keep in mind is at night, while they have lights and stuff on the boats, it's not quite the same as I think during the day, especially with kids and stuff like that. So so that's one reason why we're definitely going to try to do that as a priority, get on that early if we can.
Yep. Okay. So Jingle Cruise, what's next?
So Animal Kingdom, I definitely want to see the Merry Menagerie. Those are the like the puppets they come out with, and also just the decorations in that park. We talked about Epcot, and similar for Hollywood Studios, they have a lot of like sort of 50s style Christmas decorations around, and see what's going on at just down Sunset Boulevard and stuff like that, and all the music that they have playing there. And then obviously there's always a ton of food. Beyond like the Epcot festival, there's always just a lot of specialty food. So I'm sure we'll pick out some of that from some of the quick service places.
Yep. So one of the things, all the stuff you listed is stuff I'm excited to see. But the one thing that we have to do, meaning my family, is go to the Grand Floridian and see the gingerbread houses. Because my wife and her mom have made gingerbread houses for like decades. So this is going to be like a really cool she's like really super looking forward to it. My oldest daughter, we were watching a time-lapse video from Disney Parks blog of like putting it up, that type of thing. I think it was from 2019 was the last time they did like a montage for that. And she's like, that's not real gingerbread. I don't believe it. I think she's kind of messing with us when she says it, but I think she half believes it. So it's going to be fun for the family to check it out. So I'm looking forward to that, and just kind of hopefully there's enough. Like I want to do like a resort tour and stuff like that, but I know I'm not going to be able to do that with my whole family. I mean, I'd love to see the Wilderness Lodge and stuff like that, but that's just kind of difficult to get to. It's not hard to get to, but it's like you got to get on a boat from Magic Kingdom, go over there, do the thing, get back on the boat, and kind of whatever. It's if it was just my wife and I, that'd be one thing. But with all the other kids, I think they'd get bored just like walking around and looking at a hotel at the age of like 8 and 4. So
yeah,
maybe next time.
Yeah, I definitely feel like by deciding to get the park hoppers, we're sort of sacrificing, I think, some of that resort hopping time, because when we're going to have that full day at Magic Kingdom, we'd probably want to take a midday break, and we could do that, hop in the monorail resorts and stuff. One thing good is we have all day Friday at our resort, and we're in Kidani, but it's obviously not far to get to Jambo House, which is decorated usually really well for the holidays and stuff like that. So at least we'll take in our resort, if nothing.
I'm going to make a request while I have this. When you do your Genie Plus with the hoppers and everything else that you're doing, I use just like a notes app on my phone, and I recorded time and moves on Genie Plus and things that we did. If you have enough brain power or brain bandwidth, I should say, you have plenty of brain power, but the bandwidth to do it, I'd be interested to see how you plan everything out, because we can kind of compare notes, so to speak. See who strategizes better.
I'm excited and anxious, and because it's going to be my first time using Genie Plus at all, so hopefully I don't totally screw it up. But like we definitely have it. We'll pick out a few key things we want to do, and then knowing we're going to hop, that's going to be, I think, the big question is when do we stop with the lightning lanes for the current park and start stacking for the next
We'll
park.
talk about this as we get closer. We don't want to get too far in the weeds with this, because this is we're about halfway through the show, and we're like on the first topic, and we're not even halfway through planning updates. Okay, so the Christmas stuff is pretty. The only other thing I want to say is, because we're going to talk about the Epcot stuff. I was looking online, just looking at some of the cheaper dining packages, and I noticed the 2 cheapest ones you can only do it the day of.
Right.
I remember correctly. So keep that in mind if you don't want to spend $100 per person or plus per person to get it in advance. That might be something you could try. Now, do you reserve that through the app the day of, or do you have to walk up and do that?
I believe, at least in the past, you had to go there, and you had to basically go to the restaurant. So just for people listening, the 2 restaurants they do that are at the Eagles Smokehouse in the America Pavilion and Spice Road Table, and they're just day of. You have to go up to the restaurant and get your meal, and it's sort of first come first serve. So you're obviously taking that chance that they might be gone for the day. And also just having to note that, like, okay, one of the first things we need to do, or like when that restaurant opens, is be in that area to kind of eat early and get our thing. So, it's a good option, because they're, I think, $40.52 versus the sit downs, which are like, we're looking at Beer Garden, that's like $65 an adult and stuff like that. So it's not ton cheaper, but it is a little bit cheaper. So if you're looking to do it and you don't mind kind of making that part of your day, especially if you maybe have a couple days at Epcot, that's a good way to do it.
Because this segues nicely into some ADRs, because I've been thinking about some targets that I want to go for. Me personally, I've been thinking about this. With the characters back at the Crystal Palace, we were talking with the kids, and my oldest daughter remembers, but no one else really remembers. They remember seeing the pictures, but like they don't remember actually being there, because it was 3 years ago, 2019, since the last time we were there. And we're thinking about, I don't know if it's open yet, but we want to do Crystal Palace for breakfast, but I don't know if breakfast is open. I feel like I'm a terrible Disney person right now that I don't know if it's open for breakfast or not, at least like an early lunch, some kind of in that time frame. That's one thing we want to get. And I'm also tossing around doing Topolino's because I just started looking at where the Fifth Sleepers are at CBR, Caribbean Beach Resort. And if we stay, the Fifth Sleepers are in the exactly same building we stayed at when we went in July. And you quickly jump on the Skyliner, you just go right to the Riviera exchange, and you can hop right off and get right onto the resort. It'd be really easy to get there.
Yeah,
for
we've done that in the Fifth Sleepers. We've stayed in Jamaica, which was really close to the main.
That's where we stayed, yep.
Last time we stayed in Aruba, which is very close to the Riviera station, so you could just walk to Riviera if that's where you want to.
I think we're shooting for Jamaica because I love how you can quickly jump over to Hollywood Studios. Yep. Unfortunately, we only go to Hollywood Studios one day. I'd rather go for more, but I don't know where to put it in my plan.
Exactly.
What other than Space 220, because you mentioned getting those ADRs.
Yeah, we're trying to get the lounge, which is going to be a little bit of a challenge because it's they go fast. And what my understanding is from reading it is they only have tables for 2 and 4, making it hard for a family of 5. So I actually have to make 2 reservations. So we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, maybe we'll just do lunch there or something because that one thing I found is with the teenager, some of the stuff we do, she's not always super engaged and everything. And this is something that she seems to really want to do. So I kind of want to, plan that out. So we'll see. Like I mentioned, we're going to do the lunch at Enzo's Hideaway for my son. And it's not a dining thing, but one thing we're hoping to do at Animal Kingdom is the Rhinoceros Tour.
That's interesting.
So we've talked to the kids about wanting to do one of the animal tours, and they've requested the Rhino one, which of course that's the one. There's only one a day, so that goes fast as well. So that'll be one of the first things I look to book. And then what we have to do though is because we are planning on doing the Candlelight Processional dinner package. So my ADR day opens on the 4th. Those don't open till the 6th, so I'll have to get up early another day to book that one.
So a couple other things I'm thinking about doing is be our guest, but I haven't decided lunch or dinner. We haven't done the prefix menu for dinner yet, or lunch because
I was going to say it's still the prefix now. Yep. It's the same thing at lunch and dinner now.
Yeah, I mean, but it's cheaper at lunchtime than it is at dinner time, isn't it?
I think it's the same.
Oh, is it really?
I believe it's the same now.
In any case, we want to get my youngest daughter in there. Part of this, we're going to talk about motivations in the next DBC engagement segment. But one of my reasoning is I want to get my youngest daughter with all the experiences that my other kids had when they were their age, and that's one of them. I'm on the fence about Garden Grill. I hear great things and I hear overrated things about it, so I'm kind of on the fence with that one. I'd love to do Oga's when at Hollywood Studios, but I don't know if I want to bring a family of 5 in there. That might be a little hectic because it's kind of narrow in there. It's kind of crowded. And then my last trip, I wanted to go to Satuli's Canteen, but I wasn't able to do it because we went to Sanaa instead. So not that we need an ADR for that, but that's going to be one of my dining targets.
That's definitely our plan for lunch on our Animal Kingdom day before we hop.
Yeah, for sure. Or maybe we can have lunch together. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Break bread.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so that again, I'm a professional, so that segues into our DBC engagement. For those that don't remember, I asked, what is currently motivating you to book your trip to Walt Disney World? Might not be the next one because this might be your first one back from any kind of missed trips that you might have had due to the pandemic. But let's pretend this is just like, a normal year, and maybe you're planning a trip. Maybe you already went, right? You went this year, and this is like your first trip back, and then you're already thinking about booking your trip for next year or in 18 months from now, whatever year it turns out to be, right? And why are you booking it, right? That's my question. And before, I want to put this out. A lot of people book because it's their child's first trip, or it's a new. They haven't seen Rise of the Resistance yet, so they really wanted to get there, or any kind of like. Those are specific kind of like, I want to go to Disney World because of this ride, this experience, this event, this whatever it might be, right? But there's definitely a lot of people that have no reason to go down, right? They've been to all the attractions. It's not a specific time of year. We're just going because we love going to Disney World, so they booked the next trip. What is that main motivation? And I think for us Uber fans that always want to have a trip to Disney World, I think a lot of that is beyond the love of being there and having a great time. I think there's a kind of fear of losing out. A FOMO, as you talked about, like I'm hearing everybody talking about a trip. I need to have a trip. Or you spend the vast majority of our year, at least you and I do, planning our next trip. If we don't have a trip planned, we feel like we're missing something. I felt like when I didn't have a trip planned, I was hoping somebody else mentioned they were going to Disney World so I could plan a trip for them, right? Like you want to get that feeling and that anticipation and stuff like that. So you're missing something, or you have that kind of like, I said this last week, that addiction to Disney World. I don't like using the word addiction because it has a negative connotation, but that desire, that need to go just for the sake of going. So, your next trip, Phil, you're going because it's your son's birthday and you're going a nice quick trip down there. But when you start booking your next trip, whatever that might be, what would be your main motivation for booking that trip far? I know you've talked about before, you have plans for next summer to kind of go all over the place.
Yep.
But what's that next Disney World trip look like?
So, I mean, even like for this year, like we weren't planning necessarily on going on December, but my son's birthday and him wanting to go for his birthday, because when we've gone in February, it's been my oldest birthday and stuff like that. So that was kind of the excuse, I think, to book it. So sometimes it's a reason, sometimes it's an excuse. I think a lot of time it is FOMO. It is, you see all these other people having fun, getting to go on the new attractions. I helped plan a couple of friends' trips this summer, and that definitely gave me FOMO, saying like, well, I know I want to plan a trip for myself. The other thing is Disney is just something that we all like. I know Lumpy made a comment to this effect too, as one of the people from Discord, that it's something where the family, all his kids seem to get along and want to spend time with each other at Disney, when maybe other places, whether they just go camping or the beach, that's not the case. Yep. And I kind of find that definitely the same for my family. I've mentioned a few times that, my teenager seems disinterested. When we went down to Tennessee and stuff, she was almost like, do I have to go? And blah, blah, blah. But for this trip, she's like into it. She's like, can we do this? Can we do that? Like, so I think it's just, and that's one of the pulls that I think Disney has for so many families, is that there is something for everyone. And it's a place where you can do things together. It's something where I remember growing up, my family, my parents, like being happy, like just popular memories, but it was things where we were all doing things together. So obviously it's that. And yeah, it's making those memories when we're still together. Right. Cause even if she's still kind of into it now, will she be in 3 years? And that's definitely something a number of people posted, that they want to make sure get these trips in while the kids are young, whether it's, young enough, the perfect age for the princesses and stuff like that, but just, they're all at the perfect Disney age. Let's take advantage of that. I don't want to look back 5 years from now and be like, dang, I wish we took that trip. Yeah. So I think a lot of those feelings are ones I have as well. Yeah.
That's my main motivation for this trip. Right. And for those that don't remember me complaining for the last 2 years, since the beginning of this podcast, I've had 3 canceled family trips that are like a week plus in duration. Yes, we did go down last September, but that was like come down 2 days in the parks and drive back home type of thing. So that wasn't a quote unquote vacation. That was an experience. I want to call it an adventure, right? My wife and I went in July for a bunch of days, and that was absolutely fantastic, but the rest of the family wasn't there. So, So this is our first family trip down, where we're staying at a resort. We're going down there multiple days. So it's not like we're only here for 48 hours. We have to try to do as much as possible and then leave, right? We can take our time. My youngest daughter is 4. Right? So the last time she went was 3 years ago, when she was about a year and a half. She'll be 5 in January. And I want myself to have those Disney memories with her young. And she's just old enough now where she can start kind of remembering some of this stuff, because she doesn't remember anything other than me telling stories about Disney. And I want her to see the princesses, and I want her eyes to light up. I want to have her get that sense of adventure. That's what I want to do. So to me, that's a specific reason for going, right? My oldest is 9. She'll be a Disney adult the next time that we go down to Disney. And I'm kind of scared that she might lose the joy and the love for Disney. Like your daughter might be disinterested, or you see her disinterest in other things. You're just counting down the time to maybe Disney might be disinterested to her, right? Until she gets maybe a little bit older and she can remember fondly, that type of thing. Yeah. So my motivation is mostly giving my family something. But I could tell you right now, let's fast forward 4 years from now. My oldest is 13 going on 14. My youngest is now 8 or 9. Am I going just to be able to, like, I want those memories from when they were all younger again, right? Like I personally keep remembering the first time I brought my family down in 2015 and then 2017 and 2019. And I'm like, I am definitely going to be chasing those memories to add on to them. There's going to be no reason to be spending all that much money other than I want to attempt to relive and capture the moments that I had earlier in 4 or 5 years from now. I definitely see that coming. Kind of scrolling through some of these other some of the people in the community as they were talking about.
Yeah.
Let's go to how you go through some of the fear of missing out ones, starting with G.
Yeah, so I mean, a number of people I think had hints of this, but some of the more explicit ones was G&L. Yeah, posted that she was actually helping a friend book their trip, and it got her excited and kind of gave her FOMO, and I guess similar to me, made them plan another trip, and they're taking a Disney friend along. And then TL Madden mentioned, like, doesn't help being on boards like our Discord server. So I'm glad, happy to aid in everyone's obsessions and, I guess, addiction a little bit. So the other thing that I found was, Ryan W. even commenting, he still feels like it's a good value compared to other vacations. Maybe that's becoming less so, but you get, at least the park tickets, I think you get a lot for your money. It doesn't mean it's not expensive, but compared to a lot of other comparable trips, obviously it's cheaper to go camping or something like that, but other trips add up as well. And then, a lot of people did talk about kind of special occasions or just when they're planning them out, it's like have, certain things they want to do and they're going to tie that into a trip to Disney. So I don't know if you want to maybe get into some of those or.
Well, let's stick with the fear of missing out for a second. So, I'm reading one of Ryan's posts, Ryan W., and he says, I went to Walt Disney World as a kid, and it wasn't really a core memory for me when I look back at my childhood. So a driver for me has always wanted to go as much as I do now. Isn't for nostalgic reasons, because I currently enjoy going. There's so much now in creating new memories. So it's one of these things where we talk about nostalgia. We've talked about this plenty of times in the past. It's not only do you enjoy refreshing your memories from previous trips with all the sights and smells and triggers memories, that type of thing, but it's more of like I am forcing myself to get memories, right? It's like you're trying to take the Disney magic and inject it into your brain and force yourself to create memories that to put next to the other ones that bring you happiness and joy. And to me, that's interesting because you don't see that a lot in other vacations, right? You go on a beach vacation because it's relaxing. You're going to have a great time. And obviously, a great time with your family is going to build memories regardless. But there's no other trip that I can think of, and Phil, maybe correct me if I'm wrong if I just can't think of it right now, but there's no other trip where people say, like, I'm planning it so I can create memories specifically so the next time I go, those memories are equally reinforced every single time. There's no other place that people talk about this. And Disney marketing and everything else, this is the reason why they're very good at what they do, is because no one else can do this. Yeah. And I think a lot of us, or some of us, understand that and just don't care. That's the two of us sitting right here.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of other people that don't realize that, you're spending money and you're having a good time. So it's not like you're being cheated out of anything, right? It's still an amazingly good time. But I think a lot of people might not realize the play in their mind of making excuses to go or finding reasons to go and stuff like that. As long as you're not like taking a third mortgage out in your house or depreciating, being financially, irresponsible going, more power to you. I mean, I do it myself too, right? So I always find people's motivations interesting and trying to pick around. Oh, we're going because of this. Well, are you really going because of this, or are you just using this as a reason to go down, just like your son's birthday trip? Yeah,
I mean, it obviously could be both those things, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I also recall quite a few people, whether on here, on Discord, or other podcasts I've listened to, where they've actually looked into, especially maybe if it was a couples only trip, like looking to go other places, and they kind of kept coming back to Disney. It's kind of like, well, we could do that. Or we could just go where we know we'll have a great time at Disney and have so I think it's kind of one of those, it's a little bit of the known, right? You'll have a great time. You'll create those memories. Whereas maybe if you go camping or maybe if you go to Europe or something like that, you'll probably have a great time and make some memories, but you might not, or they might not, there might be other issues or whatever. It's kind of more of a known quantity.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes people are like, rather than risk something, I mean, that's happened to us where we were like, let's do something more exotic or fit that in or something, or like maybe we'll just go back to Disney because we know everybody likes it, everybody gets along, and we have a great time. And there's always usually one or two new things. And I don't know. I guess that's how it works sometimes.
The true test for my wife, you'll see like in 2 years, I would imagine, if we start thinking about another couples trip somewhere, does Disney pop up in her because this one was her idea and I completely flipped and surprised me. So we'll definitely see. Now, are there any other avenues to kind of chase down on this one where we're start talking about like a sense of obligation? Do you foresee yourself thinking, I need to go to Disney World, where you might not want to, but I need to do it because of this? Might be like, let's say your daughter just became a teenager, but let's say she's about to go away to college. You're like, I don't really want to spend the money right now, but I think we need to do one.
Yeah, I could definitely see something like that. Like, fit one last trip in before she's gone. I could definitely see if we wind up not doing Disney next year, I'm sure the year after will be like, well, I got to do Disney now.
Yeah.
That sort of thing if you start missing it for a little bit. But yeah, that's a good example or something. Or like, just before we can, this might be our last chance or something like that. So yeah, we just did it, and I'd rather not spend the money, but let's go.
I mean, like I could see like senses. I mean, I'll probably always want to go to Disney World, right? I mean, that's not going away. But I'm just thinking to myself, what kind of things will I feel like I'm obligated that I have to go, right? Where I wasn't really sure if I wanted to use up one of my trips, right? I mean, there's only certain periods of the year where you could go and spend all the money. Is there like I think I have to go, and I'm beginning to think that I'm going to have to probably schedule a trip. The more I think about it, when the new Happily Ever After comes back, whatever form it comes, like I think I have to go within the first couple weeks because I'm going to be in a media blackout when that show comes out. I want to experience it for the first time in person. So that's like, I'm going to have to figure out how to swing like a trip and just to do that, just for that sake. And everybody in my family is going to look at me like I'm a crazy person. But like, I don't know. I think that might be the first time next year that I'm like, I think I'm obligated to go because I just have to. I don't know. We'll see. All right.
I could see maybe not for Happily Ever After, but depending on what the new, to be honest, like once they announced Harmonious was going away, I almost feel like if I hadn't had this trip planned, I would have felt like I have to book another trip to see the Harmonious one last time. And then depending on what the new show is, I might feel obligated to, I got to go see the new show.
I don't know if that's obligation or you're just making excuses to go down again. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. One side of the coin or the other doesn't really make a difference at this point. Okay, so we want to make this a quick show, but usually when we say we want to make it quick, we go long. Let's skip right ahead to. Let's mention next week. What is next week's TBC engagement?
So I thought it'd be time for another armchair Imagineering. We haven't done something related to dining in a little bit, so I said let's do some armchair Imagineering around what new or different restaurant concept would you like to see at Walt Disney World?
Anywhere on property or in a park?
Anywhere on property, just anything you think would be cool that they don't have right now, whether it's a different character meet, just some sort of different technology used, anything you can think of, but related to dining.
Okay, very good. So I already have some thoughts, but I won't share them because that would make the show even longer. Okay, down to our takes, our over and underrated transportation thoughts on property. Let's start with overrated. Phil, what is the most overrated mode of transportation on property?
This was a little hard because
you changed this. I think this wasn't on here last week.
Yeah, I really like all sorts of transportation. I love that there's a variety of transportation. Yep. I ultimately came down to the monorails being a little overrated, not because I don't love them. My son absolutely loves them. We have all the sets and stuff like that, but I just think they're not the most convenient form with how limited of where they are. Like if you're staying at one of those resorts at Magic Kingdom, it's great, but otherwise it's like you have to like smash into them just to get from your car or wherever to get around. It has a long trip down to Epcot. At least now they're redoing a lot of them. A lot of them have been redo for a while. They were in poor shape and smelled bad and stuff
Yep.
like that. So I think they're coming back. They added the lights and things like that. So it's hard for me to say they're bad or anything like that, but I think sometimes they have a fondness tied to nostalgia that from an efficiency standpoint compared to other things, I don't think they're as good.
So I have the same thing, but more on the aspect that people always talk about them and love them and the monorails, and there's like they track all the colors, and like people are completely obsessed with the monorails. I think they're a fine mode of transportation, but they're a pain in the butt to get around on, right? You got to go up to the platform, you got to wait around, you got to get shoved in them with a bunch of other people. But they're still essentially one of the fastest modes of transportation where they're set up, right? But they're not as good as my underrated one, but we'll get to that in a second. And you've basically said everything I was thinking about on the monorail. So which one do you think is properly rated in your view, mode of transportation?
So properly rated, I put the Skyliner. I think it's great, especially, if you're staying at Caribbean Beach or whatever, it's super quick to get over to Hollywood Studios. It's quick transport between there and Epcot, and it takes you to a number of resorts. I think they're just fun. But I also know not everyone likes them. People are scared of heights. And so I kind of think that like for people that like them and want them, they're great. And for other people, they're not so great. So they're kind of properly rated.
So my properly rated one is like minivans and rideshare. I think people know what to expect from them. And I mean, you could kind of argue with me and make them underrated because people don't really consider them. But they're probably the cheapest way to get from the airport to your hotel, unless you have a lot of luggage. I mean, I looked into this for my wife and I. Getting an Uber was like $50 one way. To get a town car or a bus or whatever, you're looking at over $100, at least with my family. So that was actually pretty good. If you don't mind spending the extra money getting from park to park using like a minivan or a rideshare or whatever way you want to do that is very fast and convenient.
Or if you're going from a resort to another resort,
correct,
can make it really efficient.
Yeah. So I think they're like people know that they're there, and I think they're properly rated. I don't think they're underrated or overrated or underrated, and more people should probably use them. So underrated now. Sorry for the awkward pause. I'm going to go first. My underrated one is Skyliner, right? Because when you say it's properly rated because people like them, they use them, and that's that. I don't think enough people have used them because they're limited to where they are, right? So, but people might not be staying on those properties. But I think that mode of transportation where you're in your own box, it's quiet, you're not being jostled by other people, or if you're sharing it with others, there's plenty of room to get in there. They're very fast. They're very convenient. And there's usually never a long line for them unless you're going at the very start of the day or the very end of the day type of thing. And they need to be everywhere on property. Like if Disney were not to build another ride for the next 5 years, but used all that time and resources to put Skyliners everywhere, I would kind of not be mad because I think that would be actually pretty good. So I think they're underrated only because I don't think enough people talk about them or use them and rave about them as much as I think there should. When I used them for the first time, my last trip, it just made everything just so much more zen, I guess, right? They're very peaceful. What is your underrated mode of transportation?
So your last comment about the Skyliners, I think, flows nicely into my underrated, which is either the boats or the ferries, because I think it's a much more peaceful way, like at Magic Kingdom, to start your day getting on the ferry, going up to the top deck, like looking out over at the different resorts. It's just calm on the water. You're not getting shoved into a car in the monorail and that sort of thing. But obviously also the friendship boats and the boats on Crescent Lake and stuff like that. I think they're just obviously people use them because they're there. But I think sometimes people are like, like for the ferries, almost everyone goes to the monorails, whereas the ferries are a great alternative there. And
I'm gonna disagree with you just a little bit. I think the ferries at Magic from the TTC to the park are properly rated, but you're absolutely right about like the friendship boats and all the different smaller boats to get around proper from to like Disney Springs or from resorts to Epcot or Hollywood Studios. I think you're definitely correct that those are way underrated. Those are absolutely phenomenal modes of transportation.
Yeah, like our last trip, we took the boat from Disney Springs up to Port Orleans, French Quarter, and it's just you almost feel like you're in another world.
Yeah.
Through, it's almost like you're in the Everglades or something like that. Like, so it's just a really, I think it's a good way to kind of disconnect compared to like the buses or something like that. So
the first, and I think, the last time I was on one of these boats was all the way back in 2015. My first time I was at Old Key West. We took a boat back from to and from Disney Springs for dinner, and I was just looking around like I had no idea Disney World. This is like I was entering my Uber Disney fandom. Like I had no idea these existed, and it was just like this is just so peaceful and just fun. Like you just had a night of like music and drinks and a big meal, and you could just like sit back on these boats and not get crammed into buses.
Exactly.
It's just like to me, it's like the Skyliner, but it's almost better than a Skyliner because it's. I don't want to say it's an attraction, but you're running a boat. It's great, right? It's fun.
It's not something you get to do or most people at least at home. Right?
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that was the last part. I think we're going to wrap the show up, Phil. You need to go travel.
I think that's a nice spot. Yep.
If you have any ideas out there for future ideas for our takes under and overrated stuff, I need to stop. I think people have heard our takes and know what that means, so I think I need to stop explaining it now. If you guys have any ideas for our takes, please put them in Discord. Make sure you get on Discord to do the DBC engagement segment this week. Phil, if you wouldn't mind putting that up, so because I'll probably forget. And then I think next week I've got like 4 different topics that we could talk about next week that we're kind of dive into a typical show. And I think in a couple of weeks we'll do another trip update as things kind of a post 60-day trip.
Yeah, find out how we did.
Yeah, I think
did we get the things we said we wanted or not?
I think that'll be in 2 weeks' time, probably. Because I think next week we'll be just under it, and then the week after that we'll be all done. So we'll figure that out. Make sure you like and subscribe in any platforms that you listen and watch these shows. We appreciate your viewership. Leave a comment anywhere or a 5-star review that helps other people find our content and help this show grow. That being said, guys, have a great day, weekend, night, week, whatever. Whenever you're listening and watching this, have a good one, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Take care of them.